Okay, great. We're back.
Yeah, we're back. Yeah.
And it should be fall, but it's hot outside.
I'm still wearing my white. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome back to Parenting from the Trenches. We're super excited to have you with us. I'm Dr. Amy Alamar.
I'm Dr. K.
And our show covers various topics around the idea of working to build stronger parents, families, and communities. So we talk to experts, we discuss research, we share current news articles to help you make sense of what it all means to you and your family. We hope to help you develop some strategies to talk to your kids about difficult subjects. And if you have any questions along the way or after the fact, please let us know so that we can help you through your journey of parenting.
Yeah, those are the
How
best.
can they help us? They should instant message us.
Instant message,
Email
yeah. Facebook.
Yellowbrick.me.
Yellowbrick.me.
Yes.
So, and those are always the best questions too. So, yeah.
And we're excited to be joined by our special guest today, Joanna Curry-Sartori, and we will talk with you in a few minutes. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about mindfulness. So the power of pausing.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yeah.
how can mindfulness help to build calm and focused and engaged learners? So we're really talking about it within the schools. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds good.
And you're a little bit of an expert on mindfulness. You do some in your practice.
We do mindfulness in our practice. We are actually just starting up again an adult mindfulness group, which is going to be
so for adults.
Thursdays at 5:30. And we will be doing a kids mindfulness group on Wednesdays at 5:30. And I'll be running those. And basically it's light yoga, mindfulness strategies. We practice them in-house. I mean, and we have a beautiful space, yoga space to do it in the office.
Great.
And it's great. And people really, really love it. We set the atmosphere up and you actually get to practice what we talk about oftentimes in therapy. Right. Yeah. So it's a whole different therapy. A lot of times you're talking about what to do, and this is the actual practice.
Doing of it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that,
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
it practical. So if you are watching with us now, please jump into the conversations. Let us know where you're watching from, why you're watching, any questions you may have for our expert or for us. And at the end of the show, we will jump to viewer questions and we'll answer some of your specific questions and help you address those. And we'd also love for your help in spreading the word. So please let everybody know and like us and share us on Yellowbrick.me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you find us.
Yeah.
Wherever we are.
Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter. Yeah. I just read in the Huffington Post, there was an article highlighting the medical benefits of mindfulness, which I was not aware of. I never thought about that. And it talks about it being for adults, and so why not consider making it something for children? And I know that our guest is going to share about how we can work on it in school. So that was really interesting to me because for me, I know the word mindfulness and I understand that it's something about being present in the moment, but beyond that, I'm not really sure what it is. So I didn't realize that it could actually have calming medical effects.
Yeah,
and that's
it helps you use a different part
of
of your brain and really helps to, all of those neurochemicals associated with relaxation and stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. And it has actual benefits, absolutely. And the thing that's interesting about applying it to kids is that kids get it so much more quickly than adults do.
It's easy for them to adapt.
It is.
Now, I'm going to turn to Matt, who is producing for us today. Can we share this article while we're streaming this? Can we post this somewhere or after the fact? That would be kind of fun, too, to share the article out with our viewers. And while we're doing that, let's welcome officially Joanna Curry-Sartori. I want to make sure I say that right. You're a marriage and family therapist and a faculty member of the Central Connecticut State University as well as the Copper Beach Institute. And you teach mindfulness in schools and community organizations. So why don't you start by defining what is mindfulness?
Okay. So mindfulness, simply put, is the practice of paying attention to our experience right here in this moment. And to do it in a way where we're letting go of judgments, but engaging with kindness and curiosity. So it could be paying attention just to our breath happening right here, right now, or sounds, or touch, or sight, but it's anchoring our attention into this moment so that we have a moment to pause and step back from all the stories in our mind, thinking about the past and the future, so we can be here and engage as effectively and with focus as much as possible. So if you think of a kid in the school setting, right? Very often we see that they maybe get dysregulated, they get stressed, they get upset, we're concerned about their focus. Mindfulness gives them that tool and that capacity to be much more present and focused and engaged. And not only does their behavior improve, their relationships improve, their academic performance improves.
So they're
It's this
learning
missing
some
key.
independent practice that they can apply in a moment if they're starting to notice that they're wandering off. Is that in their mind, or?
Yeah, so there's two aspects. One is, so ideally we're teaching the kids mindfulness when it's sort of like on a regular basis. It gets integrated into the class, even for a minute or two at a time, but they're building that muscle to say, okay, I can pause now. Let me see, how am I doing? What are my thoughts and feelings? And connect, what's my experience in this moment? Now, once they build that muscle, then in a moment where, say, the quiz just got put in front of them and their mind starts to freeze up or spin, oh, I know what to do, I can take a breath. Or they're out on the playground and a friend says something mean, or the teacher gets upset with them and they feel that reactive. With mindfulness, they've built that capacity to notice that and then take care of themselves so they can respond effectively.
Okay, so you're suggesting, okay, I want to pause for a moment.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have some viewers, probably a little bit like me, going, okay, that sounds all good and well for people who like to do it, but I'm not a meditator.
Sure.
I'm not into the spiritual sort of enlightened conversations that, you know, other people maybe engage in more deeply. I'm a doer. I move around. I think a lot. My life is kind of harried.
Yep.
So how would I even stop and think about doing this with myself, let alone with my kids? So what would
Right.
you say to sort of, I don't want to say a naysayer, because I think people would say, yeah, what's wrong with that? That
Right.
sounds great, but I couldn't ever do it.
You know, I love that you bring this up, because this is why in my presentations in schools, when I talk to faculty and parents and students, I call it the power of pausing, because I want to demystify the idea that this is about 30 minutes a day and about being somebody who's introvert or highly spiritual. This is about the practice and power of simple pauses. It literally can be 30 seconds, a minute. Ideally, for ideal benefits, the research we've seen over 30 years in the medical field says practice 10 minutes a day. But it's okay, don't even start there. Start with a minute. But what you're doing is building that capacity that when the stressors are high, when the waves are big, they're not so overwhelming. You know, so instead of, like, sometimes I say to people this, take your hand, put over your face like this. And I say, okay, describe your hand to me. And they're like, well, I can't even see anything. I'm like, exactly. When we're in the midst of stress and overwhelmed by our thoughts and feelings, we can't even see them.
Yeah.
Mindfulness is going, oh, that's what's coming up again. That's the thought. That's the pattern. And there's power. So we pause, and then there's the power to choose. We can choose how to respond to our stressors and our challenges.
And that 1 minute a day sounds achievable, much more so than, you know,
Right.
an hour of exercise a day.
And honestly, it is like exercise. So it is like building a different set of muscles, doing something different. You know, so it doesn't have to be spiritual. You're just literally opening up different neural pathways within your brain. So when you think about, you know, maybe you add weight training into your exercise routine, this is likened to that, just adding mindfulness into your coping strategies and stress management toolkit.
It's
And
like
so-
you brush your teeth, and this is how you take care of your mind.
This is how you take care of your mind.
This is
I like that.
This is mental health. This
Yeah.
is mental well-being. And it's not just for a few or some. We all live with minds every day. And if we want to be at our optimum performance, if we want to experience basic peace and contentment or happiness with our lives, if we want to be available to connect in our precious relationships, this is the key. So, like, why not try it?
So talk to us a little bit more about those benefits. So it's connections and relationships, it sounds like. It sounds like calming down in the moment, maybe ability to focus in school. What are other benefits that you're seeing in schools?
So, I mean, there's an assortment, but definitely, I mean, so it absolutely supports kids to self-regulate and calm. And, you know, with the apparent increasing levels of stress and anxiety in our society and culture, this is vital not just for the adults, the kids are stressed too, right? So let's give them the tools. We say calm down, we say focus. Do we tell them how to do that? Let's teach them how. And yes, it's social skills. So if we want our kids to grow up and be successful and effective in whatever field and arena, we're giving them these fundamental social and emotional skills. there's an organization called CASEL, the Collaborative for Social Emotional Learning. They really are like the storehouse and hold the oversight for social emotional learning curriculums throughout, nationally. And they've looked at what are the 5 pillars, what are the core elements. Mindfulness teaches all the elements of self-management, self-awareness, and decision-making, and healthy, effective relationships. So mindfulness has all these elements and benefits. So again,
of
the
contributing
focus,
toward those,
calm, connected relationships,
and how do you
effective
introduce
engagement.
that practice to kids then? When you're in a school setting, you're
Right.
doing that. Are you introducing it class-wide? Are you introducing it one-on-one or to just the teachers? What does the introduction look like in its ideal?
In the ideal. In the ideal, I start with the adults who are in the building. I start by presenting to the faculty and the parents, because mindfulness it's not just another set of tools and okay, I got it. If the kids are in a classroom and trying to self-regulate and take care of themselves, but their teacher is unaware and yelling and bossy and stressed out, the adults are contagious, right? So as adults, 50% of bringing mindfulness into schools is supporting the adults in their own well-being. And this is not about a top-down initiative. This is about an invitation, because it can make their lives better, So I go in and I just offer it to the faculty. I offer it to the parents, and to help them realize I can be more effective in my life and feel better, right? So as they experience that awareness, then they're in a place to be like a tuning fork for the kids, and then coach the kids through stress. So secondarily, then yes, I could work with kids individually. I can go into the classrooms.
That's great. And I know from an educator perspective, when you talk about top-down,
Yeah.
And having done professional developments, it is nearly impossible to do these top-down approaches so that they are spread throughout the school in a consistent manner. It's okay, even for a year you might see an initiative, but to really own it in your classroom and to practice it is hard. And I would imagine, and I don't know if you do this, but I would imagine evaluation is a good key, here, because to go in and watch how it's happening and how it's being instructed would be very useful, I would imagine, for the students and the teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Now, do you work with all ages, or do you work with, yeah, you do, so K
Absolutely.
through 12, or even college?
You know what? So I don't know if you've heard of Dan Siegel, who wrote The Whole Brain Child,
sure.
and I love his work.
Yep.
And he's passionate about saying,
We should be putting up these websites and these books
Yeah, I
and things
definitely
she's
encourage
recommending,
people to look at Dan
So
Siegel.
Castle was the one.
Castle's the Collaborative for Social Emotional Learning. Wonderful resource. Dan Siegel, The Whole Brain Child. Excellent book on parenting, but really brings in the value of mindfulness.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I want to come back to what your question was. We
Yeah.
got into this wonderful train.
Go ahead.
Can
Just
you remind
talking
me?
about the ages that you're working
so-
with, and
right.
how you might change your introduction at different ages. And I do have some questions here from viewers watching right now too.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
So with young people, this can go into pre-K. I was in a pre-K class last year because little kids get upset and dysregulated, and little kids can pause. Little kids can notice how they're feeling and take a breath and attune to a calm adult, and it can make a shift. Let's give them the skills and tools early. But that same core skill set's relevant for elementary. It's relevant in high school. It's relevant in college. It's relevant for all of us, right?
Yeah.
So the descriptions and instructions may get a little more in-depth or elaborate. I may bring in a little more of the science, depending on the age. But we all have this need, and we all have this capacity.
Yeah, that's great. So we're super high tech here, and so we're receiving comments as we go.
Awesome.
On paper. So it looks like we've got a few viewers asking questions. So, and one of them was my next question. Diane says, and thank you, Diane, for watching. I want to help my kids to do this. They are so resistant. So I want your response. And then she follows up with, have you heard of Mindup?
Yes.
Okay.
So Mindup is from the Goldie Hawn Foundation. So that's a really another. There's a lot of excellent curriculums out there. So that's one of the ones.
It's a curriculum.
It's very, it's very much anchored in the science. It's a curriculum that you can bring into schools, and it's based on different age groups. Another wonderful one that I often use is Mindful Schools. So yes, Mindup is definitely one of the strong curriculums that's out there.
Okay, great. And
so-
is that something a parent could bring? So it's my child is so resistant. Is it something you could do at the home if your school isn't doing it? Is Mindup or Mindful Schools the one you're doing? Is that something you could do at home?
I mean, I would lean more toward looking at some of the books that are designed for families.
Okay. What are some you'd recommend?
So there's one called Child's Mind by Christopher Willard.
Okay.
There is Sitting Still Like a Frog. And that one has a little disc in the back. So
We have that one, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So the
that's
kids
great.
can watch with you?
Well, it's auditory, you
audio,
listen.
okay.
But, you know, I have to come back that the starting point is for us as parents to practice it. So if we go, okay, come on, now you're getting upset. Go be mindful. Go sit down. You know, it's not going to fly. So the first
I'm
thing,
thinking for Diane, the first thing would be to learn mindfulness, to
Herself,
either read
yeah.
through some books, find an expert in the area, something like that, learn to practice it and demonstrate the benefits to her children and
Exactly.
talking about it through conversation and
Yeah.
inviting, as you say, her children to participate with her maybe after she's got to practice herself.
And one
that
thing
be-
I've noticed with doing the groups here, the kids groups, is that the kids, then I give them homework assignments that they have to teach their parents.
Okay.
They
And
love
they
that.
absolutely
Yes,
wonderful.
love
Love
that.
that.
And then at the end, we do a class for the parents and teach the parents all the different skills. And each kid will go through it and do one of the skills that we did. So, you know, maybe you could do either one where you're role modeling it, or you could do.
So if Diane lives near Glastonbury,
Yeah, she
she should
right.
come here to
Classes.
Hopewell Health
yeah,
Stations. Okay.
yeah, because they love teaching you.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, that's a nice,
That can be fun.
playful thing to
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
Yeah,
wonderful.
This is what I love with this is it can go both ways. So sometimes the students in my classes will bring it back to their homes, and then
Lovely.
there's the student parent conferences, and the teachers are hearing back that the parents have learned it from their kids. When children are resistant, I guess what I just want to emphasize is if the more we kind of push it on them, the more there'll be resistance, and then they'll have a kind of bad taste in their mouth. What I think kids find really, really impressive is when they see the parents model it. So I have an 8-year-old son, right? So there's those moments in the morning when we're trying to get the door, but there's some glitch and it starts to get a little overwhelming, stressful, and we're worried we're going to miss the bus.
So it's not just in my house that happens.
Okay, so we're all parents here. So that's the moment where sometimes I can hear, and it's not even that I'm getting like yelling or something. I just start to get a little agitated, a little rushed, and sometimes I name it. I just said, okay, I don't want to get stressed. I'm just going to take a breath, and I'll just almost talk out loud about what I'm doing. And it's not just about sounding calm, it's about how am I really authentically being.
So we would call that metacognitive, right, in the ed field, right? Like you're actually walking through your processes and teaching your son and yourself sort of how to do it. So you're walking through the steps. And I could see for young kids, and I don't know if anybody watching is very young, I would imagine listing those steps, you know, somewhere in the kitchen might be helpful too in the beginning. Yeah, when you're all learning how to do it.
But even just somatically connecting with the body again. You know, I think a lot of times
definitely.
we always are talking about mindfulness in the mind, but it's also being very much tuned into your body and knowing when you get that sort of butterflies in your stomach, or you feel kind of sick, or your heart is racing, and you do some physical things like breathing or clenching or different kinds of tools that you can do to physically release some of that stress. And actually the mind will follow the body too. So
that point,
yeah.
Because one of the things we often don't appreciate is, I think many of us are familiar with the signs of stress in our body, but don't realize what's happening in our brain when we're stressed.
Or that
And
you could stop it.
Well, that we can make a shift. So when we get stressed, our brain perceives stress and doesn't know the difference between, you know, a quiz and a tiger. And so we revert down into our lower brain, which is just about fight, flight, and freeze. And the sad part is what goes offline in that moment is our prefrontal cortex, and that's where learning and memory is, conflict resolution, problem solving, empathy, all those things we want in a challenging
Making
moment
good decisions.
go offline.
They go offline
So
when you are in that mode. That's a great,
Yeah.
you know, my son was just referring to flight or fright yesterday. He didn't have freeze in there, but he was just talking about it.
Yeah.
We have another comment or question from Heather. Thank you, Heather, for watching us. And I think Heather and I are connected somehow because could the pause be writing lists?
That sounds like you.
Sounds like me. Sometimes I feel calmer after I've just laid out everything
I love
I've got to
lists
do.
too. Yeah, that makes me feel better.
Well, you know, and it ties back to what we were saying. So say you notice the physiological response, like that stress response, or say you can feel your brain frizzing up or starting to get upset. So to me, the key thing there is pause, because we know that if we proceed at that moment, that's when we're going to say things we regret, we're not at our best performance, etc., right? So then pause. Then the question is, what do you do to get yourself back online? And so we step back from the situation, and there's all kinds of mindfulness activities like breathing, calming the body, and so forth. But sometimes what we need to do is step back and kind of sort things out.
Yeah.
And some people need to go take a walk in nature. Some people need to make a list. So there's mindfulness practices, and there's many other coping techniques that help us shift back into our healthy self.
Yeah.
So if making a list is what helps you, that can work. And also I heard list in two ways. There's also, sometimes it helps just because in that moment we're frozen up.
Organize.
Just
your
have a little
thoughts.
thing on your fridge. What do I do when I freak out again? What are my steps? So I put that up on our fridge too.
Okay, so Heather,
Yeah.
you can make your list, but make it part of your practice of mindfulness.
If you
And you
want,
can also make a list of how to practice mindfulness. Is that
Yeah.
sound fair
And
for?
go for lists if they work for you.
Yeah, I'm a big list writer.
I like lists, too.
myself.
I
That's
do.
great.
Yeah.
So maybe you could actually show us, I don't know, an introduction to what it would be. So you talked about the hand
Yeah.
and pulling it away from your face and looking at that. Are there any other techniques that you want to share?
Well, so I think we're covering a lot of it. I mean, whether it's with adults or children, I often do start out by sort of how do you know what are the signs for you when you're stressed, and just to start to become aware of that. One of the great things in our families is we can be helpful to each other with this. So if we start to see the signs on each other, say, do you think we just need to pause before we even keep going here?
I was just in
Right?
a conversation yesterday talking about sometimes it's helpful, as you say, to our families. We don't have to solve the problem. Just being there for one another and absorbing it together can sometimes be helpful.
And sort of digest it.
Yeah.
So it's like so as far as introducing it, we can talk about, like, say it's not in a stressful moment. Let's not introduce it then. That's when the waves are big, right?
Yeah.
Wait till the waves calm down, sit down together and say, what just happened there? What did you feel in your body? You know, what can we do to pause and take care of each other here? How can we calm down and be at our best?
Okay, so now you've supposedly got us hooked, right? And I'm gonna go
All
home.
right,
I'm gonna
you're
try
go
it.
try this, okay?
All right. What happens? How do we maintain this practice? So I know you start an exercise regimen and you go in every day and you pay for your punch card,
Right.
And then sometimes a few months in you start to peel off, or you start a good diet and you're eating all healthy, and then we didn't have time to make the vegetable tonight. So tell us, what are some strategies for sticking with it once we're in?
So the first thing I think is to
red flags to look for, if that's easier too.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's a number of tips that are often given in the field to just sort of set yourself up to succeed.
Yeah.
So start with literally 1 or 2 minutes a day.
Okay.
Start with, see if you can find the time of day when you are most likely, you can just commit, you brush your teeth every day. Can you commit to 1 or 2 minutes of sitting, maybe it's right after you brush your teeth. I don't know. But time, place, some consistency, but something you can commit to and set yourself up to succeed. The other thing that's a great use of technology, because technology often takes us out of our being mindfulness, but there are fabulous apps out there.
Yeah.
That remind you.
So many of my clients, that's what's given them the momentum. So for example, there's Headspace, and they also now have a whole segment of things for children.
Oh,
and the person who did Headspace was just on Jimmy Fallon and
they're
did
very
this
good.
massive mindfulness moment altogether.
Yeah.
It was really a great little clip. And
Moodify is a great one.
Moodify. There's Calm. I mean, you can go out there and kind of explore.
And even just setting your own alarm.
Yeah.
Setting your own
just
alarm.
making an alarm on your
or your own little chime.
Remind
whatever. So just to set yourself up to succeed, find a buddy.
Okay.
There's more and more, there's different places such as your office here or the Copper Beach Institute where there's regular mindfulness classes.
Is there a website you want to direct people to?
For the Copper Beach Institute, they have classes, I believe, every Wednesday night, and you could look that up. That's in West Hartford, Connecticut.
Great.
But throughout, more and more, it's at the heart of much medical practice now, because after 30 years of research, the benefits are tremendous for people. Like there's a stress-related component or exacerbation with almost any medical issue we might be facing. So you can look in hospitals for classes, community centers, adult
Probably
education.
libraries, yeah.
And then more and more it's coming into schools. And there's now, if you go to this website, Mindful Schools, they really show the research of what we now know is the benefits for specifically for schools.
And maybe requesting it at your school.
And if you're wondering what mindfulness is, watch your dog. Because I just got a dog.
We're both new dog owners.
So I'm a new dog owner, and I've been taking my dog out.
Returning dog owners.
Yes. And watching my dog, and leaving my phone at home, and watching my dog enjoy nature and sniffing and just being in the moment. And we actually, as corny as it is, we watched a cricket together, right? And I was thinking to myself, when was the last time I paused to actually look at a cricket? And to me, that's such an authentic practice. It's not forced, and it's something that's very easy. So if you have an animal at home,
or a young child,
I feel like
it's lose those moments with our young kids.
It doesn't have to be this like canned practice.
Great. Yeah, no, I think you're right.
It can be a really authentic, everyday type of thing to just be in the present moment. And children and animals are our best teachers for really what mindfulness is all about.
Yeah, because they're, as you said, better able to do it sort of than adults sometimes.
Well, children and animals, they've less kind of mental clutter,
Absolutely.
so they're more here. And then the added piece that I love with mindfulness is, so it's paying attention in the present moment on purpose. So it's not that you just happen to be here, but there's like a level of stepping back and being aware of what's my experience right now. What am I feeling right now? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And that's where there's then freedom for choice.
Great, thank you.
You're
this is
welcome.
the time where we're going to skip to our audience questions.
Yeah.
So we are very grateful that you guys are sending in questions, and we just want to address a few of them. And some of these, feel free to pipe in. This one, maybe we could use mindfulness for this first one. And I'll take some tips. How do you get your teenager to listen to you at all? I like that they added at all.
At all.
And we both have teenagers in our homes. So, I mean, I have found the best practice is really sometimes stop talking and start listening.
Absolutely.
That would be my first piece of advice.
Yeah, and get close. I feel like getting close, sitting closely to your teenager, making eye contact, trying to put the phones away, not having background noise, just really developing that physical connection and then really listening and reflecting what they're saying. And you have to understand that teenagers have a lot of problems, right? And
they perceive a lot of problems.
Well, yes, but they do. It's tough. So, but we don't have to solve all those problems for them.
Right.
And I think that's such a huge step, because I think as parents, we want to step in and alleviate the pain and make it better right away. And I think sometimes we just need to listen, reflect, and
it's not that you won't talk and share what you're trying to share.
Right.
It's that you are developing that connection so that when you do talk, it's more meaningful.
Absolutely.
So, I think you provided a lot of strong strategies there. And this is sort of a continuation. It's a different question. But how often do you sit down and talk to your children about their problems? And I would say as often as they will sit down and talk to you. But if they're not coming to you, you do want to provide a space. So I know in my family, we do family dinner. And we insist on it. And it's really, whether it has to be super early to accommodate sports or it has to be super late to accommodate other things, we really make it happen. And the research does suggest that, a regular meal or family time, but we tend to make it a meal, right?
Yeah.
Is crucial 5 days a week. It's a huge protective
factor. And it doesn't have to be an hour and a half. I just listened to something on NPR. I think it was like 20 minutes, they said, is like the sweet spot in terms of having good conversation.
Yeah, and if you have that space, or if you've created the connection in some other way, make sure that you return to it so that the problems can come up there. But the other thing is to be aware, don't be paranoid, but be aware of red flags. Is your child demonstrating different behaviors? Are they, are their sleep habits different? Are their eating habits different? Do they seem kind of moody, other than normal moody, or are they hiding things? You know, so those are the things you might look for before you sort of panic that they have problems.
And one tip I think for working moms, because I think a lot of people say, oh my God, you know, by the time I'm done cooking, I then have to throw food on the table and go do something else. So I've sort of, and this is what's worked for me, I've sort of given up on a lot of the cooking. So I would rather go out and get takeout and bring it home and sit down with my kids and talk to them than spend half an hour, 45 minutes.
Now there's so many good options out there where you could do that in a relatively healthy manner. We're not nutritionists, so
no.
But I do think that you know you have a good point, and you'll want to make sure that you have that time and space before you worry about all the other stuff that goes up, or you get harried. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I see a tie with mindfulness. So with the children and teens that I've worked with, whenever I have a moment like alone with them, and I kind of say, well, what's going on? They're like, I just wish my parents would listen. I just wish they would really get me and understand. Like, don't fix it and don't give me advice and don't tell me what to do. I just want them to listen. And then I talk to the parents, and the parents are like, I tell them all the time, I'm here for you. I want to talk to you. I ask them questions, and then they don't answer. So where mindfulness comes in is when we're spending time with our child or our adolescent to kind of notice what different parts of us are coming up that maybe do have that worry and concern or wanting to manage or control or wanting to fix and give advice, and see if we can ask those parts of us to kind of step back so we can truly just be present. Because they'll sniff it out, right? And if we can get to a place where we're relaxed and present, available, I think they naturally do want to open up to us. That's what they tell me every day.
Yeah, I think that's great advice to really listen and like we were saying, don't solve the problem, be there to work through the problem.
Yeah.
That's our time for today.
I know. What a great show.
Time flies.
It does.
Thank you so much for joining us.
We were all in the moment.
Yes. Our next show, I believe, is October 25th, and we'll be talking, now listen up for, well, everybody, but especially parents of older kids, navigating the college admissions process.
Gosh.
I've got my ears peaked.
Yeah.
And remember to email us your questions, and we would love to respond to them on air. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a great month.
Bye, guys.